Okay, so picture this. You're standing in a hallway.
Mm-hmm.
The carpet is that generic industrial gray. The air conditioning is humming a little too loud, and you are sweating.
Oh, yeah. I know this feeling.
Not because it's hot, but because behind the door in front of you sits a panel of people who hold the keys to, well, the rest of your life.
The interview.
But not just any interview. We aren't talking about getting hired to fly a regional jet for the first time. We are talking about the big one, the upgrade.
Right.
The move from the right seat, the first officer, to the left seat, command. And specifically, command of an A320.
It's a massive professional threshold. You're asking a company to hand you the keys to a $100 million asset and, the lives of nearly 200 people.
It's the difference between being a helper and being the final authority.
Absolutely.
And usually when pilots prep for this, they buy these interview prep books, right? They memorize answers to standard HR questions like, what is your greatest weakness?
Right.
Or, tell me about a time you overcame a challenge. It all feels so...
It feels like a pageant. And that is the problem.
Exactly. So for this deep dive, we are looking at a document that just completely shreds that pageant mentality. It's called the Fleet Manager's Protocol for Command Candidates. And I have to say, when I first read this, my jaw hit the floor. It is brutal.
It's not written by an HR consultant, that's for sure. It's written by a fleet manager, a senior pilot whose job is to ensure the standards of the entire A320 fleet.
And they don't have time for fluff.
No.
No fluff is an understatement. The opening line of this protocol is literally, you're here because you want to sit in the left seat of my aircraft, so let's get one thing straight. I don't care about your dream. I care about your discipline and adherence to procedure.
Wow. That sets the tone immediately.
But hold on, let me play devil's advocate here. Isn't that a little cold? I mean, shouldn't a captain have passion? I don't care about your dream. Doesn't that suggest they want robots flying the plane?
I see why it feels that way. But you have to think about the context. By the time you are interviewing for an A320 command, you have thousands of hours. You have the passion.
That's a given.
It's a given. But passion doesn't handle an engine failure at V1. Passion doesn't manage a complex diversion with minimum fuel.
So the dream is an emotional baseline, but it's not a qualification.
Exactly. The fleet manager is looking for a risk manager. They need to know that when the pressure spikes, you aren't going to revert to emotional decision-making. You are going to revert to discipline and procedure.
They're hiring a professional skeptic, not a dreamer.
That's exactly.
Okay, so if we strip away the romance, what is left? The protocol outlines a very specific way to prepare, and it starts before you even walk into the room. It says you need to scrub your logbook and know your employment file.
This is where so many candidates fail before they even start.
But what does scrub the logbook actually mean? Is it just checking for math errors? Because that seems pretty basic for someone with, 5,000 hours.
It starts with math, sure. If you can't add up flight time correctly, how are you going to calculate fuel requirements? But it goes so much deeper. It's a forensic audit of your own history.
Forensic audit.
Gaps in flying. Comments from instructors 10 years ago. Everything.
The document mentions knowing your file so you don't walk in blind. That sounds pretty ominous.
It's strategic. The fleet manager has your file on the desk. They already know everything. They know you failed a check ride back in 2014. They know you called in sick 3 Christmases in a row.
Ooh, patterns.
Exactly, patterns. So if they ask, how is your attendance? And you say, oh, it's great. But the file shows a pattern of you calling out sick every time a holiday weekend rolls around.
You're done.
You're done. You just lied, or worse, you lack self-awareness.
So the advice here isn't just fix the typos, it's know the story your file tells about you.
Right. You have to own the narrative. Yes, I had a sick call pattern 5 years ago. Here's why, and here's how I corrected it. That shows maturity.
Walking in blind shows negligence. The protocol also lists a specific ban on what it calls generic, unverifiable fluff. It explicitly forbids the phrase, I'm a hard worker.
I love this rule. I really do.
Really? Who doesn't want a hard worker?
It's meaningless in aviation. What does hard work look like in a cockpit? Struggling. Sweating through a procedure. We want efficiency, not struggle.
That's a good point.
Anyone can say they work hard. The fleet manager wants objective evidence. Don't tell me, show me.
Which brings us to the core of the document. The source breaks down 5 specific metrics, these hard pillars, that a candidate has to anchor their answers to. And the first one is training record.
This seems obvious. Pass your check rides. But there is a nuance here that is just fascinating.
The text says, Tell me you are a resource for your classmates, not a drag on the rest of the class. That's a really interesting way to frame it. A drag on the class.
Think about the environment of an upgrade course. You are in a simulator box for 4 hours at a time, usually paired with another pilot. If you show up unprepared, you aren't just hurting yourself. You are wasting your partner's time. You are stealing their training opportunity because the instructor has to stop and explain things to you that you should have known.
So you're the weak link.
You're the anchor, and not in a good way. The fleet manager is looking for leadership. A captain lifts the performance of the entire crew.
So if you were the guy in class who needed extra help constantly, how are you going to be the captain who mentors a brand new first officer?
You can't.
So when they look at your training record, they aren't just looking for a past. They're looking for, did this person make the people around them better?
Precisely. Being a resource means you have instructor-level knowledge, even if you aren't an instructor. You know the system so well, you can help your partner troubleshoot. That is command potential.
Okay, let's move to the second metric, attendance. We touched on this with the whole sick calls on Christmas thing, but the protocol uses a specific phrase, reliability is currency.
That is a great metaphor. Every time you show up, do your job, and make the operation run smooth, you earn a little political capital.
And every time you are late or sick or have a uniform issue,
You spend that capital,
Yeah.
and if you're bankrupt, you don't get the upgrade.
But here's the part that stood out to me. The specific expectation mentioned is, be ready to discuss that you are often early to ensure flight readiness.
This is huge.
Why? I mean, on time is on time, right?
Yeah.
If the van leaves at 07.0 and I'm there at 07.0, I'm good.
In the corporate world, maybe. In the airline world, on time is late.
Explain that.
Well, think about the A320 setup. You walk onto a cold, dark airplane. You have to align the IRSs, which takes time. You have to load the flight plan into the FMGS, the Flight Management Guidance System.
Right.
You have to review the maintenance log, check the NEL items, brief the flight attendants, do the walk around outside.
It's a lot of choreography.
It is. If you show up exactly at showtime, you are rushing to get all that done before the passengers board. And what happens when humans rush?
They make mistakes.
They miss a digit in the weight entry. They miss a breaker that popped. Rushing is a safety threat. So when the fleet manager asks about attendance, they aren't asking if you own a watch. They are asking, do you build a buffer into your life so that you never have to rush in my airplane?
That connects it directly to safety. Being early isn't about being a goody two-shoes. It's a risk mitigation strategy.
Exactly.
Speaking of risk, let's talk about metric number 3, safety and integrity. The manager asks, don't just tell me you're safe. Prove it.
This is the hardest one for people to answer.
Right, because usually the proof of safety is negative space. I haven't crashed, therefore I am safe.
Which is a logical fallacy. You can drive drunk home from a bar and not crash. That doesn't mean you were safe, it means you were lucky. The fleet manager doesn't want to hire lucky pilots, they want safe ones.
So how do you prove it affirmatively? The source points to the SMS, the safety management system.
Participation. That is the key. Are you filing ASPI reports?
And ASAP reports are those voluntary reports you file when something goes wrong or could go wrong, right?
Yes. And here is the trap. Most pilots only file them defensively. I busted in altitude, I better file a report so the FAA doesn't suspend my license.
Covering your tail.
Exactly. That is using the system as a shield. The fleet manager wants to see proactive reporting.
Like what?
Did you file a report because the signage at a specific taxiway intersection is confusing and you saw someone else almost make a mistake? Do you report a procedure in the manual that is poorly written?
So you aren't reporting to save yourself. You're reporting to improve the system.
You are protecting the herd.
Yeah.
That is the captain's mindset. If you see a threat and you don't report it, you're leaving that trap for the next crew. A captain fixes the trap.
That is a powerful distinction. It moves safety from following rules to active participation. Okay, metric number 4 might be the most corporate-sounding one, mission alignment.
This is where pilots often roll their eyes.
I can see why. The source says, prove you aren't just here for a paycheck, but let's be real. Pilots are expensive professionals. They are there for the paycheck.
Of course. Of course they are. But the airline isn't paying you just to fly. They are paying you to execute a business model.
What does that look like at 35,000 feet?
It looks like decision-making. Let's say you are delayed. You can fly faster to make up time, but you will burn significantly more fuel. Or you can fly at the economy speed, save fuel, but arrive late. What do you do?
I assume that depends on the airline.
It depends entirely on the mission. If you are flying for a high-end legacy carrier with high-paying business passengers, the mission might be protect the schedule at all costs, burn the fuel.
Right.
If you are flying for an ultra-low-cost carrier where the ticket price is $49, the mission is lowest possible cost. You fly slow.
So the captain is basically a middle manager making financial decisions in real time.
You are the CEO of the aircraft. If you don't understand the company's business model, how they actually make money, you can't make the right decisions in the left seat. You are just a driver. The fleet manager wants a partner in the business.
That is a great segue to the final metric. Metric number 5. Professionalism and ownership.
This is about the hardware.
The protocol asks a very specific question. Do you treat the EFB, the iPad, and the aircraft as if you bought them yourself?
As if you bought them yourself. That's the key phrase.
Now, be honest. I drive a rental car very differently than I drive my own car.
Of course you do.
I'm not washing the rental car. I'm not worrying about a little crumb on the seat.
And that is the renter mindset. That is the first officer mentality. Not my plane, not my problem. Maintenance will fix it.
But the captain has to have the owner mindset.
Think about the cost. An A320 can cost over $100 million. If you treat the cockpit like a rental slamming the tray table, treating the iPad roughly, things break. When things break, the plane gets delayed. A delay can cost the airline tens of thousands of dollars in minutes.
So the fleet manager is looking for someone who takes personal offense when the aircraft is mistreated.
Yes, they want the person who cleans up the coffee spill, even if it's not their job.
Yeah.
They want the person who writes up the broken latch immediately so it gets fixed rather than leaving it for the next guy. It's about stewardship.
It really paints a picture of the captain not as the king of the sky, but as the ultimate steward, the ultimate caretaker.
That's the job. It's less glamour, more responsibility.
So we have these 5 metrics: training, attendance, safety, mission, ownership. The protocol says we need to anchor our answers to these.
This is the strategy. This is the how-to.
Give us an example. Suppose the interviewer asks a soft question like, tell me about your leadership style. How does an amateur answer that versus a pro?
The amateur rambles. They say, oh, I like to be democratic. I like to listen to everyone. I'm a people person. It's fluff. It's nice, but it's fluff.
And the pro?
The pro anchors it to a metric. They'd say something like, my leadership is defined by mission alignment and safety. For example, on the ground, I am democratic because I want to gather all input to ensure safety. But in the air, if we have a time-critical emergency, I shift to directive leadership to ensure we adhere to procedure and protect the aircraft.
Wow. That is night and day.
You're answering the question, but you are using their scorecard to do it. You are telling them, I know what you're looking for, and here it is.
It effectively stops them from having to guess if you're ready. You're speaking their language.
You are speaking fleet manager back to the fleet manager.
So we've scrubbed the logbook, we've anchored our answers, we've proven we aren't just dreamers. We get to the end of the interview. And this is where the protocol drops the hammer.
The technical challenge.
The document ends with the fleet manager saying, now let's get to work. And they ask, is there a specific A320 system, electrical, fly-by-wire, or power plant you want me to grill you on first?
This is the ultimate trap.
It feels like a trap. It's like pick your poison.
It's a confidence test, but it's also a depth test. Imagine you're sitting there. Your palms are sweating again. You have to pick.
Let's play this out. Say I'm the candidate. I'm feeling confident. I say, let's talk about fly-by-wire. That's the heart of the Airbus, right?
Okay, you picked fly-by-wire. Bold choice. So the fleet manager leans forward and says, great, walk me through the degradation from normal law to alternate law. Specifically, tell me what protections you lose and how that changes your stick handling in a crosswind landing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, I know normal law gives me protections. Bank angle.
But do you know exactly what you lose in alternate law? Do you lose alpha floor protection? Do you lose high-speed protection? How does the roll control change? Is it direct stick to surface, or is it still a rate demand?
If I stumble here, I'm dead, aren't I?
You are, because you just told me you were ready for command. You picked the topic, and now you can't explain the envelope protections of your own aircraft.
It's terrifying, because there is nowhere to hide.
That's the point. In the aircraft, when things go wrong, there is nowhere to hide.
Yeah.
You can't pause the simulation. The fleet manager is simulating that pressure. They want to see if you crumble or if you actually know your systems at a command level.
So the lesson here is don't bluff.
Never bluff. And, more importantly, know your systems cold. Not good enough to pass the test. Good enough to teach it, Good enough to explain it while the alarms are ringing.
It brings us right back to the beginning. I don't care about your dream, I care about your discipline.
The interview is just a simulation of the job. If you prep with discipline, you'll fly with discipline.
It's a sobering reality check, but also an incredible roadmap. Whether you are aiming for that A320 left seat or just trying to step up in your own career, there's a lot to take away from this fleet manager's protocol.
Be reliable. Own your file. Protect the herd.
Simple rules, high stakes. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Fly safe.
We'll see you next time.